Going to do a new feature today, seriously this time. So stick around. We're going to do a regular recap like usual, and then there'll be some bonus Twins talk at the very end on the big club. But here we see in a tight 0-0 ball game, a couple of web gems by Jorge Polanco, and that one especially by Carlos Correa. What a play there. But Twins really struggling to get any kind of offense going. Kenta Maeda in the 6th inning, you can kind of tell he was frustrated with himself. He's always very animated on the mound. And later that inning, he gives up a bomb to Riley Green. My goodness, to break the scoreless tie in the 6th inning. Broke Kenta's heart there, too. Hopefully somebody made sure he wasn't hanging his head too much, because that's a tremendous outing. And once again, Kenta Maeda pitching so well. 2.17 ERA since returning from the injured list, with 62 strikeouts and 14 walks in 49 and 2/3 innings. Dylan Floro ran into some trouble in this one, gave up a couple runs, and then Duran just needed some work out there. Looking at the hitting side, I mean, there's not much to look at. 2 singles was all that the Twins managed at the plate. They also struck out 9 times. Ryan Jeffers, who had so hot, such a long hitting streak coming into this one, he strikes out 3 times while going 0 for 4. So, you know, who can you count on if you couldn't count on Ryan Jeffers today? Twins still 15-11 in the second half, but they have now lost the season series to the Tigers. They're 4-7 against Detroit. But here we're taking a look at Trevor Larnach with the Saints, crushing one off the rehabbing Hunter Green from the Reds. That's 97 miles per hour, but of course Larnach's not struggled much with the velo. But he fails to acknowledge the bullpen there. That gets him into trouble. He tries to acknowledge him in the dugout, but that's going to be a call. He's going to talk to somebody out there. That's apparently a big thing on the Saints, is you got to shout out the bullpen as you're rounding second on home runs. They talked about that on a broadcast recently, but that was Larnach's 11th home run with St. Paul and 17th on the season. Ben Ross here, and a good look at modern Woodman Park in Davenport, Iowa, where Quad Cities plays. They got a carousel, they got a Ferris wheel, and Ross almost puts one into the Ferris wheel. Just missed it. But that is his 15th home run of the season for Ben Ross, who is DHing today, plays all over the place. And another look at that one, gave that one a ride, and almost gave it a second ride on the carousel. Fun ballpark there. Here are the notable minor league hitting performances. Want to mention that Brooks Lee was off today. Royce Lewis went 0 for 2 with 2 walks. He played third base for the Saints. Rafael Cruz down there, he's really heating up. He's still 19 years old playing for the Mighty Muscles. That's O'Neal Cruz's little brother. Here are the pitching stats for the starters tonight. I want to call it, too, that Cody Funderburk got the save for the Saints. Left-hander, he now has a 2.62 ERA since joining St. Paul. But here are the results from this evening. Saints and Windsurge win, and we're going to get into that bonus content I mentioned. Thank you so much for sticking around for these extra innings, is maybe what we'll call them. I don't know. We're making this up as we go. But if you're still looking for more information on the Twins, we're going to talk about this series against Detroit. Found some interesting numbers that surprised me. Those of you that watched the channel last year will have some deja vu going on with this conversation we're about to have. But we might do these at the end of every series. But let me know what you think about these. But anyway, as you see here, I've got up on the screen the runners in scoring position numbers from each one of these games of this series, and then a total for the series. And I mean, this is as easy as a paint of a picture. I mean, I could just give you this, and it'd be pretty easy to guess that the Tigers won this series. The Twins go 6 for 31 with runners in scoring position, while Detroit goes 12 for 37, twice as many hits with runners in scoring position, which is not a huge difference in the number of at-bats either. So Detroit hits 324 with the runners in scoring position, while the Twins hit 194. Yuck. And, of course, the Twins getting shut out in 2 of these games on Tuesday and Thursday. They didn't get any runs scored, so pretty hard to get hits with runners in scoring position if you're not scoring. And that crazy Bailey Ober game, they were 6 for 12 were the Tigers in that one. Just crazy, but you know, they've been inconsistent. I'll paint that picture in just a moment here. They've been pretty inconsistent with runners in scoring position, but another thing, you know, we've a lot of discussion on, the Twins got us again. They got us again. They won 5 in a row, and then they lose 3 straight against the stinky Tigers. It's definitely true. What's going on? Why is this team so up and down? I think a big part of it is that it's really hard to consistently score runs if you don't have a single a single offensive star in your lineup. And the Twins really don't. They really don't. They have, some guys will get hot. Some guys will, go up and down. Max Kepler is swinging the bat great right now. That's a great example of a guy who was hitting poorly and now he's playing well. Goes both ways. But there is not a consistent star hitter in this lineup this season. So it's really hard to win on a consistent basis, I think, if you don't have a guy that is the rock of the middle of your order, showing up every day, producing on a regular basis. So I think that is a huge hurdle for this lineup right now. But on the topic of hitting with runners in scoring position, and this will feel familiar, this is the thing I alluded to last year. It felt like the Twins were just hopeless with runners in scoring position. But actually, they were pretty good. When you looked at their rankings across the league, they were just horrible with the bases loaded. That exact same thing is happening this year. So when I showed those numbers against the Titans, oh yeah, the Twins aren't good with runners in scoring position. Actually, as you see here, the Twins are only kind of slightly below average in batting average with runners in scoring position, but they have a much higher on-base percentage and slugging percentage than league average with runners in scoring position. Bottom there, you see the ranks. Those asterisks are because those numbers were coming into today, so they did not include today's numbers. But Twins rank 20th in batting average, 5th in on-base percentage, and 7th in slugging percentage with runners in scoring position. So you can't really blanketly say, oh yeah, they're not good in those situations, because actually they are pretty good. It's just that they're very inconsistent, again. Guys got to deliver. Today's game was particularly frustrating because there was at least one good setup, and I think maybe two of that for today, where they had the meat of the lineup coming up. I think they had the meat of the lineup up with no outs, and it got runners in scoring position and couldn't score. So that's just extra deflating. But not a whole lot of positives to come across when it comes to this series. Another kind of thing that crossed my mind about this series and this team in general is they haven't been very aggressive at the plate. And, some of the stats you look at that doesn't really show up, but I think, they've taken a lot of good pitches. They've taken a lot of good fastballs. And it's gotten me to thinking like maybe they should be swinging the bats earlier in counts, being a little bit more aggressive. And that led me to kind of coming across this interesting tidbit. We've been, concerned about Jhoan Duran. He's been getting beat up a little bit more this year. He came in today, he just needed work. So he threw today. But look at this. On the swung or took first pitch of a plate appearance, the gigantic difference between that for Duran. So if it seems like hitters have been more aggressive against him, and that I feel that way, guys are swinging earlier in the count, you can't get to 2 strikes on that guy. So I get it. You get to 2 strikes, you're dead. So why sit there and hope that he walks you? Because, again, Duran doesn't even really walk all that many guys. So it's not like that seems like a winning strategy. So instead, hitters are just like, well, if it looks like it's going to be a strike, I'm going to try to swing at it. And you see there, when they swing at the first pitch, this is a small sample. It's only 61 plate appearances. But in those plate appearances, there's an 822 OPS in which if they swung at the first pitch, and this is with him not walking a single guy. So any plate appearance where they've swung at the first pitch, he's never issued a walk in those plate appearances. Whereas if they took the first pitch, he's giving up just a 550 OPS. These are small samples, but I think this is a little bit of, we could probably break this down further by count, but this is a little bit, I think, of explaining of why maybe Duran's giving up some more damage. He needs to maybe counter-adjust, be less predictable on the first pitch, maybe be a little bit more fine, trying to throw in the shadow zones, not hitting the middle of the plate on the first pitch. But that's not totally what the discussion was. See, in the bottom, we have the MLB averages for the swung versus took the first pitch of the at-bat. It's pretty even, so you wouldn't expect there to be any kind of a big split. And it's about 30% of the time for MLB averages that guys will swing at the first pitch, and the Twins numbers look actually incredibly similar to this, both in the rate at which they swing at first pitches and how productive they are. So you can't really look at that and be like, hey, look, they've been good in this situation, they should do this more. But it does just feel like, you don't want them to be swinging wildly at pitches out of the zone like we saw Javi Baez. We've seen him do his whole career, really. We saw him doing this series as well. So there's got to be a happy medium of that. I do think they need to crank it up a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive earlier in counts, but not completely, go swinging. And another thing too, you swing at the first pitch a bunch, all of a sudden, you're not only just potentially making it for very short innings for the pitcher you're facing, which isn't good. You kind of want to wear those guys down. And also your pitcher who just got out of the inning, if you go out there and swing at 3 straight first pitch strikes, well, all of a sudden he got like 0 rest in the dugout. He's got to go back onto the mound. So there's all kinds of reasons why, swinging at the first pitch is as uncommon as it is. Again, it's only about 30% of the time. But if the Twins need to find something, I think the book out on them is that they'll kind of try to wait you out. And as long as you don't make mistakes, you can get these guys. And nobody's good with 2 strikes. So once you get to 2 strikes, I don't care who you are, it's tough to hit major league hitting, especially then. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little extra package there. Let me know what you think of those. Thanks for checking this out. Thanks to all the channel members for sponsoring these videos. Here are the premium members. We'll talk again soon.